packed series. And with me today is Sindhuja, who is, I have to say, someone that I have been following for a long time now. Always wanted to get to know more. And this interview was like the perfect opportunity to get to know my guest today. A little bit before I bring her on and ask her to share her journey with us, is Sindhuja is a wellness entrepreneur and holistic wellness practitioner, and she's also multi-passionate, multi-talented, also plays a huge role in the PR space, and we'll hear from her more about her work. But I'm so excited to have you here. And Sindhuja, welcome to the show. Welcome for, and thank you for making the time and being so generous with your time today for this interview. So welcome, and I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me and thinking of me for the show, Savita. Very happy to be here.
Thank you.
So let me start with
Yeah.
my combination of PR and wellness
Yes.
subject. You
Yeah.
did introduce both
Mm-hmm.
wellness and PR,
Yeah.
and I'm sure people are wondering where the link is.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you would best understand if I start with my journey, how I even ended up here.
Right.
I am an engineering graduate.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes. So I studied in RV in Bangalore.
Okay.
And to be very honest, at that point of time, I was too young to realize what I really wanted in life.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to do engineering, and I went with the flow,
Okay.
went with the rat race, got into computer science engineering. It was only when I graduated after completing 4 years of engineering and when I tried to do the regular run of the mill software engineering job, when I got into a job,
Mm-hmm.
that is when I realized that day in and day out, I was not cut out for something of that sort. I wasn't made to sit in a room all day long, coding in a language which other human beings don't understand, 24 hours, 365 days, and in that tube lit office with hardly any windows, AC. And
Yeah.
for me as a person, it didn't sit well. I mean, of course, it's a job that many people appreciate and love,
Yeah.
but for me, it didn't sit right.
Mm.
And having always been someone who likes to move with people, I realized that I had unknowingly started doing PR in the company there.
Okay.
So I would all the time move up and down the floors, talking to people, helping out the HR team.
Mm.
And unknowingly, I got into this whole people relations aspect
Okay.
within that company. And I stayed there for a year in the software engineering role, by the end of which I realized I couldn't go on in that direction anymore.
Yeah.
So now I was in a very difficult phase because I have spent 4 years studying engineering. How would I just throw it away? No
Yeah.
one wants to just waste their graduation or their degree
Yeah.
after working so hard. So there came a point when I realized that these sort of attachments don't work.
Mm.
And if you really want to maintain happiness in your life, you should be willing to let go of your past, whether it's achievements, whether it's the good stuff, whether it's the bad stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and be willing to quickly change and try new things.
Okay.
So the question came in now as to what I could do next. Professionally, I had no, academically and professionally, there was no other experience.
Mm.
I had to sit down and reflect and ask myself what I was good at, what I love to do.
Yeah.
The answer turned out to be wellness. I have always been in the wellness space. I
Okay.
was one of those very plumpy kids. I mean, now I completely don't relate to that image anymore.
Okay.
But I was one of those people who had her own personal transformation, physically, emotionally, in
Mm.
every way. And I realized that's what I wanted to help people with.
Okay.
Also, I realized that there are a lot of wellness experts out there, a lot of fitness experts, wellness experts, life coaches, mental health coaches. It is a competitive space. And I personally felt that for me to make any unique difference and to bring in high impact value, it's not enough to just start off as I was. I wanted to get accredited. I wanted credible certifications and education, a qualification in that.
Okay.
So I decided that I will actually go in for a degree in either sports medicine or alternative medicine. I started with a certification in sports medicine because fitness was my first interest.
Mm.
And by the time I completed that, I realized how much I love this space and I wanted a formal degree in it. because of which I went on to do a master's and eventually an MD in alternative medicine.
Okay.
Alternative medicine, specializing in fitness, nutrition, as well as emotional health. So mind, body, spirit, basically. Holistic wellness is what I pursued. It took me 4 years to complete. And I decided to go in for the online options. I think it really helps for people to realize today that you can sit at home and get your next credential.
That's true.
And what do I do during these 4 years? Because now I've got used to the work life, right? I'm used to earning my own income, standing on my own 2 feet. And I didn't want to give up that aspect either. So while I studied, side by side, I also joined a PR job. Why PR? Because I was good in communications. I decided that's the area where I can leverage my skills and build a career out of it. And it turned out fabulous. I spent about 4 years in the country's top PR firm, which also happens to be one of the globally most recognized and awarded PR firms, called Burson Marsteller.
Okay.
And from day one, I was dealing with blue chip clients. So we had Intel, Google, Mindtree. I was in corporate PR, not the lifestyle movie PR that you see very often out there. So I was doing corporate reputation management, got introduced to this whole corporate world. And one reason why I took up PR was the fact that, believe it or not, I was a very shy individual.
Okay.
Facing people was always a huge issue for me. I was always the kid who had fewer friends, a closed circle, close knit family. And coming out of that circle was always a challenge. I had to face my shyness, but I've always had this love for people. I want to get to know more people. I want to know what they do with their lives. I want to try different things with them. So I decided this is a chance for me to break through that barrier, that shyness that I had, and start moving with different circles, different communities of people. So PR really opened me up, changed me as an individual. Day in and day out, I'm moving with people who think big, act big, do big. The whole conversation is different when you're moving with these kind of people. So my job was to represent the CXOs of these companies in various industry forums, as well as with the media. So I was the interface between them and the media, them and various industry forums. So it opened me up to the media world. It opened me up to the business world. It helped me directly understand how a top CXO thinks, how he runs his business. Because that's what those people live and speak about, right? Even if they're giving a media interview, these are the questions that they answer: how they're running their company, right from financial information to the operational decisions, to softer stories about what got them started, how they have been inspired to build something so huge. So I got to hear a lot of stories, move with a lot of interesting people, and it became a part of my life. PR became a part of my life, that although wellness was what makes me most passionate, this is something I didn't want to let go of. It was a fun job. 4 years was fun.
Okay. All right. And then from the job, you started out your own practice.
Yes. So 4 years is what it took for me to complete my degree. And the moment I got that degree in my hand, I decided it's time to set out on my own. And the PR helped in the business aspect.
Okay.
So this is where indirectly things always tie up. It looks seemingly disconnected, but for an entrepreneur, something like PR is a huge strength. The contacts you build, the network you cultivate, it's everything in entrepreneurship. So that's what helped me take off. I started with a corporate wellness company. I started off as a solopreneur. All I would do is go to different corporates and have my sessions, my workshops on various wellness aspects.
Okay.
Started that way. Very soon we grew into a small team of 3 to 4 people, and year on year, it improved and grew. 7 years, I had that company. I ran that company. It was called Energy Capital.
Okay.
And only last year, it was acquired by a much larger firm.
Okay.
It was acquired, and it was a very good offer. So once again, for me, the detachment aspect from your business is very important. If you get overly attached, you can't explore new things in life.
Mm.
because of which I decided to take that offer. It was a good offer.
Okay.
And I've moved on from there now. Meanwhile, I also did start a couple of other businesses. So we have organic
You.
cold pressed oils, herbs, and spices, which we export.
Okay.
So farms and export of these herbs and spices and cold pressed oils.
Okay.
That is also wellness related if you
All
look
right.
at it.
Okay.
That is still on. However, I have set it up in such a way that it doesn't require my day-to-day involvement.
Mm.
I have all the time on my hands to do something more for community. So the reason I gave up the wellness company was I have a very strong drive towards the social sector. So many people in the country being left out of the growth story, right?
Yeah.
India is the technology capital of the world. We are in the top 5 economies of the world,
Mm.
but we also have the poorest in the world.
Yeah.
Our human development index is the lowest. We are worse than Bangladesh and the neighboring
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah.
So these things really bothered me, and I wanted to step in and do something powerful in this space.
Mhm.
Because of which I have now entered the social sector,
Okay.
working in a company called the Niche. They work at a very high level, both at a policy change level, systems change level, as well as at the grassroots. I feel I fit right in, and that's
Right.
how I'm ending up in PR once again.
Okay. So it's your journey is really interesting, and it's so true what you share, which is entrepreneurs PR is gold. Like, I mean, when you invest, I mean, your biggest marketing cost is always on PR, right? And so to have those connections and to be able to grow your business because of the work that you've done, because of the network that you've built, I think that's like that's asset, and the worth of that asset is like just something that cannot be, it's priceless.
Absolutely. And I must bring this up, Savita. When I first started off with my company,
Mm-hmm.
I spent about 5,000 rupees on a decent website, which I used to handle myself.
Hmm.
5,000 rupees was my only investment, if you look at it that way.
Okay.
And I had zero marketing. To be very frank, I'm terrible in social media. I'm so not great at it. Even today, I'm not great at it. My
Okay.
strength was PR. So every time I get an article out in the Times of India, every time I manage to get an article out in Entrepreneur magazine,
Hmm.
it reaches way more people and it reaches the target audience. Now, the social media, I feel, has a splurge effect, right? It reaches
Yeah.
everybody. I think I remember reading that conversion rates are very less, right?
Hmm.
8%
If you're not focusing
if
only
you're
on your
not
target
very
audience. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So it's quite different when it comes to traditional PR, especially when your target audience is corporate.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I was running corporate wellness workshops
Yeah.
and I needed to reach the corporate guys. So
Yeah.
being seen on an Economic Times is the greatest credibility that I can get for myself.
Absolutely.
And it took 0 rupees.
Right.
It takes 0 rupees when you get covered in media like that.
Yeah.
It's not a push marketing, it's a pull marketing. People would reach out to me. So every time I get media coverage in Economic Times or Times of India, I literally have to do nothing. The
Hmm.
next day after the article is published, I would have minimum 7 to 8
Okay.
clients calling me, and huge clients, Amazon, Flipkart, Deloitte, the exact kind of clients that any entrepreneur would wish for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So
That's
that's,
what I
I
do.
mean, that's a great story, and actually you really make the case for PR, because a lot of times today people are thinking like, oh, I do social media. Do I really need PR? I mean, I'll reach out to influencers, but this really is the reason why people should also be doing a certain amount of traditional PR. On
Absolutely agree
and
with you.
and so that actually is a nice segue to my next question, which is, so you must have seen so many challenges, right? Dealing and juggling with both these roles while you're learning and doing this. What are some, like, if you can share one or two challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome it? Because all of us deal with challenges differently. So, would you like to
Right.
share that with us?
Sure. I think the greatest challenge is always inside our minds and not really in external circumstances. So for me, starting from scratch, the fear that you face when you're starting from scratch.
Mm.
See, when I made the decision to drop my engineering degree, actually, I didn't end up dropping it. So eventually, I had to build a technology platform for my corporate company. So somewhere it all ties together. But
Yeah.
when you're making these big decisions, it's fear. There's a lot of fear that you face. And you also need a lot of humility.
Yeah.
Because say, for example, now from being a founder CEO, I have actually taken a step down and become a PR head.
Right.
So there's humility that is required when you make these transitions in your life.
Absolutely.
You have to drop the ego, and fighting your ego is a huge challenge for any person who has managed to achieve anything.
Yeah.
Uh, so for me, that was the greatest challenge, and it takes a lot of self-reflection, a lot of processing of your emotions to decide what will really move the needle in your life and take you where you want to go.
Yeah.
Now, they always say, right, you can't get where you want to get by remaining where you are.
Mm.
Where people
Yeah.
have a tendency to cling to the position that they're in, that they're so
Absolutely.
scared to try out new roles.
Yeah.
I think that is a challenge if people learn to overcome that mental block and that ego block.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really create a very rich, beautiful, complex life for yourself,
Mm.
which enables you to experience so many more things rather than just remain closed in one space.
Yeah. Okay. Beautifully put. I truly resonate with that because it's so true. Like sometimes you just want to cling to this image and this role that you have built up, and then often to make that transition is the hardest, right? And
Yeah.
so I want to ask you this as a multi-passionate person, right? How do you manage both of these roles, or do you set, like, you have your wellness and now like you're also focusing on the social sector? Do you set different goals for each of these areas? Like how do you, what's your approach to it, to
Right.
getting things done but making sure you're still getting it all done in all the areas that you are passionate about?
Right. So, in terms of goals, I keep it very simple. On the wellness side of things, since I have a formal business, which is my organic business, the goals are very tactical. I have normal business goals. I want to make so much sales. I want to tap so and so markets.
Yeah.
I want to make this much of profit by the end of the year. So, that is very um, the usual kind of goal setting.
Yeah.
The other aspect when it comes to wellness for me is to lead by example.
Mm.
And I have always seen that instead of going and preaching about wellness to others, the way I live my life has managed to reach and touch more people more deeply. So, my own circle of family, friends, people on my social media, people on my network, people at my work, by simply being a person who is very committed to wellness
Mm-hmm.
and who lives by the preaching, it doesn't just benefit me, but I see the ripple effect in my community.
Okay.
So the goal here is to lead by example for
Mm.
me. That is in terms of wellness. When it comes to PR, once again, for me, PR is now tied to the social sector.
Mm.
It's about how many lives I'm impacting.
Yeah.
I just need to know that by the end of this year, 2 million lives have been changed through the nudge and through the PR work that I am doing.
Mm.
And there's no high like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. You are like literally, if I have to look at that Maslow's, you achieve like the top of the triangle where you're like all about, where it's not about you anymore. It's about the impact that you
Absolutely.
create.
So
So,
I think there's two ways of looking at goals.
yeah.
One is your in-depth goal, right?
Mm.
In-depth. So it's like an ocean. You can go deep or you can go wide. For some entrepreneurs, especially wellness entrepreneurs, um, you like to work one-on-one. You want to change one life at a time, but you want to change it very deeply.
Mm.
The other way of working, which has always been my path, is I like to work with masses. So even when I had my wellness company, I would always address 800 people in a room, 2000 people on a virtual conference.
Mm.
So for me, I have always found it, um, I have always been aligned to reaching out to masses
Mm.
and communicating with a whole lot of voices, a whole lot of personalities at a time.
Mm.
That group energy really works very well with my energy.
Okay.
So I think it's important for an entrepreneur to figure out how they want to show up. Are you going to be that one-on-one person, or are you going to be that group person?
Hmm.
And I see a lot of young entrepreneurs who are just starting out who are very confused. They want to do everything. They want to do one-on-one nutrition coaching, plus they
Yeah.
want to go take a corporate workshop. I actually don't think it works.
Yeah.
I think understanding your energy, what makes you tick,
Hmm.
and where you make an impact can
Hmm.
be very useful. So I had zero one-on-ones when I was in wellness.
Okay. Okay.
It was only mass group wellness workshops.
Hmm.
And that group energy also had a very deep effect on the participants.
Right.
There is something that happens when a whole lot of people come together
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah. I
for
totally
personal
get.
transformation.
Yeah, I get that. It's so interesting that you bring up this aspect because I myself grapple with that, right? Because um, some people, I'm like really good at the one is to one. But for
Hmm.
my own energy, often I need groups. And so earlier
Absolutely.
I started out doing one is to one. I still do one is to one, but I have consciously made a decision to just do some form of group. But it's still not like say corporate. I still focus on
Smaller groups, maybe.
groups in the entrepreneurship space. And
Right.
for me, I've realized and I understood, and you that's it's so interesting that you share this because I always realize that I may be making an impact with a larger group, yes, but I feed off on this energy as well. It
Right.
helps me become a little more creative. And then
Right.
it helps me sustain my one is to one because the one is to one is all about giving. But in
Right.
groups, you also get to take something away. So that was something that I found for myself. And it's really interesting that you should share that you work with groups and that energy is very different. The space is different. And so
Right.
what does Sindhuja's life look like behind the scenes? What's a day in your life?
Right. So no 2 days look the same.
I'm
I mean,
sure.
you figured out by now that I'm not one who's going to fit into routines and
Yes.
any form of um, bindings.
Okay.
Right? But yeah, there are a few non-negotiable things. So they always say that if you want to change your life, you start with your morning routine, and that has forever held true with me, right from childhood. Forever been a morning person.
Hmm.
So my morning routine is sanctimonious. I may change its structure here and there, but that time is for me. That space is for me. Nothing in the world can change that.
Okay.
So for me, it's working out. Very, very important. For me, working out is always a mind body aspect.
Hmm.
It isn't just the body that I'm shaping, but the mental energy I bring to the day is different when I work out.
Yeah.
How do I pick my workouts?
Hmm.
I decide on the kind of day I want to have. Now, for example, if I'm having a day with a lot of pitches, I
Hmm.
need extra energy during the day. So I would do a very high intensity workout to put me in that mind frame
Okay.
of, I will go kick ass today.
Okay.
Right? So it actually, a workout can bring that energy into your personhood, into your, the way you show up for the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there could be other days when I'm feeling very, I'm a little tired. I want to rest more. I just want to relax. So on that day, I would pick a very simple stretching yoga routine without any challenges. It's just a
Hmm.
stretch to get the energy flowing and to release the tension in your muscles.
Yeah.
So once again, when I decide to work out, I don't have this chart, just like how I don't have a diet chart and a nutrition chart.
Yeah.
I always believe it's important to tune into yourself and give yourself exactly what you need, whether it's fitness, whether it's nutrition, or any other thing for that
Yeah.
matter. So, my morning routine, I wake up and I take a few moments to decide what is the energy of the day going to be. And based on that, I do my workout, I do a little bit of self reflection. I do not meditate in the mornings, contrary to what most people do, because
Mhm.
meditation actually makes me a little sleepy.
Yeah,
I prefer doing it at
for a lot
night.
of people. Yeah.
Meditation is very important to me. It helps me wind down, put me in
Okay.
a very relaxed state of mind. So for me, it's perfect before bed.
Hmm.
Just 10 to 15 minutes of meditation, sometimes longer, because since I enjoy it, I can go longer. But if you're starting out, just 10 to 15 minutes of meditation just before bed is a great way to improve your sleep, and the entire quality of sleep changes. So for
Right.
me, meditation comes in the night.
Hmm.
And So the morning routine is very simple. It's a workout and it's a little bit of self-reflection. Now, I understand that you always have to set intentions for the day, that you need to plan out or schedule your day. And for me, I do that last thing on the previous day,
Okay.
because I've just uh, wrapped up a day and it's fresh in my mind as to what I need to do next.
Yeah. Okay.
So for me, planning out the top 5 priorities for the next day happens on the previous day. It's like previous day's homework.
Yeah.
And it also frees up my morning.
Yeah.
So morning, it's just waking up and boosting my energy to take on the day. That's about it. And sometimes I throw in affirmations, especially what I do is when I'm taking bath,
Okay.
I listen to these affirmations in Spotify playlists. Sometimes YouTube playlists. I prefer to do it when I'm taking bath. I don't know, the whole hot water shower with the jets and the affirmations, very it enters or registers better in my
Yeah, I
head.
mean, whatever works for you, I'm sure. Okay.
Exactly. And sometimes affirmations could just be blasting great music.
Mm.
Sometimes there's nothing that turns you on like really good
Yeah,
music.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if you walk up to my room in the mornings, you can often hear crazy music blasting early in the morning, because I am there showering, listening to this sort of music.
Okay. Awesome. And when you say that no 2 days are like,
Yeah.
typically, like, do you have, of course, now because of COVID, everybody's working from home and kind of thing. But do you have like a lot of like, do you have a lot of calls, meetings, all that? Or would you say you're far more like organized in your day? Like, how do you
I
approach?
am definitely one of the more organized people. I do have to take on a lot of calls, especially since we are working virtually now. I do have to take on a lot of calls, but I always pre-schedule them. So I think the being strict about your boundaries and about scheduling is very, very critical in this virtual period.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people struggling to say no. I can't make it happen for
Hmm.
you. It's happened in my own circle. It's happened with me.
Okay.
It's difficult to say no sometimes, but you do have to for your sanity.
Yeah. Okay.
It's easy to lose your rest period because you're working and resting in the same place,
Yeah.
unlike before. There's no boundary line between the two, and before you know it, you've lost your sanity.
Absolutely.
So the scheduling aspect and being able to say no, please wait for 2 days, I will come back to you, is very
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. On that note, thank you for sharing that. I feel like, you make such great points, and I always have felt this, and it's known, right? There are enough studies to show that most successful people do all of these things that you are talking about as well. So, coming back to PR and, looking at anybody, it just doesn't have to be entrepreneurs, but primarily because I work with entrepreneurs, is there like a PR hack or a must do PR tip that you have for all entrepreneurs, especially when they're starting out? Because sometimes people go either, right? People are like, no, 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 I don't need PR right now, I don't have the money for it. Or they're like, I
You
must.
do not need money for PR.
Okay, great.
So let me tell you this. There is a difference between earned media and PR. So PR, public relations, is based on relationships. It's not based on money. Otherwise, it's just a normal transaction, right? Where is the relationship in that? So when we say PR, public relations, it's about what relation you build with a journalist. And if you want the hack, this is my hack. Take the road less traveled and go to the bigger publications right away. I know you're wondering what this is about.
Yeah.
But just think about it. Everybody is scared to approach the biggest of publications. Everyone is scared to approach Forbes. Everyone is scared to approach Business Today. And you'll be like, who the heck am I to do that? Why would they even listen to me? But
Mm.
that is the road less taken because nobody goes there, meaning it's less crowded,
Mm.
meaning the journalists have the bandwidth to listen to you.
Okay.
So people do the exact opposite, right? They start very small. They go to a very crowded place where there are a lot of voices competing for attention.
Mm.
What if you go to a place which is less crowded with less competition,
Yeah.
which happens to be the topmost publications? If you believe in your work and if you take the time to create a nice story about your work, do a little bit of storytelling to build a pitch. So a pitch needs to be very concise,
Okay.
right? You need to get a journalist's attention in your first 3 lines.
Hmm.
If
Okay.
you can do that and go directly to the Times of India's and the Forbes magazines, do not be afraid to approach the editors and the journalists.
Hmm.
It takes the same amount of effort as any other marketing initiative. In fact,
Right.
it would take lesser effort than your social media push,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? Just take half an hour to craft a powerful pitch and take it directly to the topmost guys, and not just in PR, in any aspect of entrepreneurship. Everyone is scared to approach the top guys, right? Whether it's a top investor, whether it's a top client, you always have that fear. Am I ready for this?
Hmm.
You will never feel ready.
Yeah.
You never will feel ready. There's
Yeah.
always fear that you have to overcome.
Yeah.
So take that leap and directly approach the people in power.
Okay.
Believe in yourself and believe in your work enough to go to them. And more often than not, it works out.
Hmm. Okay.
You think that it doesn't, but it actually does, because that is the less competitive space.
Okay. Right. I think I never even thought of doing that, obviously. But you also make a very interesting point saying create that pitch. Often, people feel very lost. Oh, I don't know how to do PR. I don't know anybody. But also, there's some prep work that goes into before you make the approach, do that homework, create that pitch, then go and pitch instead of just like, I think one thing that I see a lot of people do, right? They'll reach out to people and say, hey, I'd like to see is there some way that, I mean, how do I get featured? Right? And I think,
Hmm.
like you're saying, if you don't have the pitch ready and just going and asking the question probably doesn't get you anywhere, versus if you had your story and you shared that, maybe you could get more attention. And yeah,
Right.
going right to the top, it's a great tip. Thank you for sharing that. I think I'm going to try it. I've made the notes. Okay, so
Definitely, and you should let me know. And one more thing, what happens is you
sure.
can piggyback on your coverage. So if you make it once into Times of India, believe me, the other media guys are going to buy into you way more easily after that. You
Absolutely.
just share your one article with them and they'll be like, please give us an article. One more article like this.
Oh,
So that's what ends up happening. You just have to crack that one pitch, the first pitch with a good publication. And from there, it's way easier. Only the first step is the hardest, and then it's way easier.
yeah. Okay. Awesome. I'm going to try it and I'll let you know how that goes. And finally, before I let you go, I mean, you've been sharing so much, and I feel like I need to like schedule a separate session and like have you talk about PR because as well, and have you talk about wellness separately.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that would
yeah,
be
because
more
you have
coherent.
no, it's not that you're not, because I feel like you have so much value to share. So, what's your advice? You have actually had an exit, right? You've been bought over, which is like so many people's dream as well. Often they feel like, okay, I'm going to create the company and somebody's going to buy me for a nice deal. What is your advice to women entrepreneurs out there? If there's like one thing that you feel everybody should know, or what would you like to share with the audience?
What would I like to share is do not be afraid to say yes and do not be afraid to say no.
Okay. Normally people
Honestly,
one or the
I
other.
see when you get a good offer,
Mhm.
it's a huge turmoil that you face inside, especially if you spent years building a business.
Mm.
So there really is no formula.
Mhm.
You have to only listen to yourself, listen to your heart, and make that decision.
Okay.
It will be scary. Saying yes to receiving an offer and giving away your business is very scary. You know what? My advice would be, don't do the easier thing. Do what you're afraid to do. I
Okay.
think that would take you in the better direction.
Right. Right. Again, like the path less taken. That's
The
more
path
you.
less take, because your fear is nothing but your ego holding you back in one way or the other. And that's exactly what we need to overcome, whether it's for material growth or for spiritual growth, whichever way you look at it. So always listen to the voice opposite to the voice of your ego. So if your ego is saying, hey, I'm too scared to sell my company right now, it is going to leave me on the streets, do the exact opposite thing and sell the company. Right. And if at the same time, um, you feel like it's very easy for you to say yes to something, then say no and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I think this whole attachment and passion and purpose is a little overrated, right? See, now of course in our circles, in our wellness circles, life coaching circles, we are very much drilling down into we have to live as per our purpose, find our life purpose, find our life purpose. Now I think that's actually taking people away from peace,
Hmm.
right? You're doubting yourself every step of the journey, wondering if you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So I think we need to get over that. Let it not be this search for purpose which leads you. Let it be your curiosity which leads you.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a brilliant line. Oh, wow. Okay. I
I
agree.
think you just have to chase your curiosities.
I agree.
And passions will also, believe me, it keeps changing. So there are phases in my life when wellness has been more important. There are phases in my life where PR has been more important. And
Mm.
I cannot sit here criticizing myself. Hey, girl, what are you doing? One day you're talking about PR, and next day you just want to do something else altogether. You want to do wellness. You don't want to look at PR for a few days. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Go with your curiosities. Go with your passion for the moment.
Yeah.
Take yourself out of those rigid roles. That's the only way to discover life. You have to let the world show you what it has.
Okay. I I think that's a really brilliant statement that you make, because here's the thing that I get in coaching all the time, especially young millennials who are just starting out, right? I don't know what my purpose is. And I think that's a great way to reframe, saying, forget the purpose for now. I mean, let's focus
Yeah,
on the
so
curiosity.
if you chase your curiosity, the funny part is it'll lead you back to your purpose.
Yeah,
One day you will land up and say, this is what I was meant to be doing.
exactly.
And for that, you need to take that rigidity out of your mind
Mm,
and go behind those curiosities and those passions, which will keep changing. Do not expect your passions, no matter how much you love them, we cannot expect them to remain the same all through life.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe, you spend a few years, me for example, I spent a whole bunch of years building that identity of a wellness expert.
Mm,
And I was like, this is my final identity in life. But then I realized, just look at me. One fine day I wake up and say, hey, I'm going back to PR.
yeah.
So it doesn't mean that I don't like wellness. It is a part of me. It is embodied in me.
Mm,
It's just that I don't have to give myself a label as a wellness expert alone.
yeah.
I can be multiple things, right? I can wear multiple hats.
Yeah. So it's it's such a interesting. I think it's very insightful what you're sharing, because when you look at it, some of us think we need to stick with one thing, right? And that's your identity, that's your journey, and you found this calling, and this is the calling. And for sure, a lot of people do find their calling and stick with it for the rest of their lives, but that does not mean that you can't do something else. And you can do
Absolutely.
something else. And I think you're like the perfect example of sharing, I mean, showing us how it's done. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Just before I let you go, two last questions. One quick one is, so you shared with me that you were working in PR, and then you were doing you were learning still, and then when you transitioned and started your own business, was that a hard decision to make? When
No,
you
that was luckily one of my planned decisions. So the reason I took PR side by side with my studies was for me to continue to be independent while I finished my studies. So I was going to do something after I finished my wellness studies, right? The whole aim and objective was to start off on my own. So this I knew right from the start.
Hmm.
So that was one decision that I had planned out, luckily for me.
Okay, normally it's the one that holds people back, and they keep like thinking about it, so I wanted to ask you that. And for people who'd like to connect with you also, you write columns, right? Can you share a
Right.
little bit about that, the columns that you write, and how can people find it?
So that is another way in which PR and wellness has got tied up in my life. The
Okay.
columns are on wellness, but the actual tactic is it's a PR tactic. And like I mentioned before, when I started off my business, for some reason, I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it without big investments.
Hmm.
I do not know what drove me to do it. I did not want help from my family. I did not want investors. I did not want 5-year strategies and business plans. I
Okay.
just wanted to start off as a solopreneur with what I had, where I am. 5,000 rupees was all I was willing to invest on a decent website.
Mm,
How will I market? How will I get the word out that I'm here? I have designed wellness workshops, which
yeah.
will work for corporates. How do I get the word out? The two options were social media and traditional media. And I have already done 4 years of work in PR. So naturally, that was my option. And my first column was in Times of
Okay. Brilliant.
India. And from there, I didn't even know, I hadn't reached out to any clients as of yet.
Mm,
So they say, they always tell you, right? Start acting like the person you want to be.
yeah.
So that's what it was. I just, in my mind, I was this very profoundly thoughtful wellness expert,
Mhm.
someone with a lot of wisdom related to health and happiness.
Yeah.
And with that in my mind, all I did was write one column for the Times of India.
Okay.
And the very next day, I had around 7 corporates calling me.
Okay.
I just posted that on LinkedIn. For me, LinkedIn was very crucial. For my business, LinkedIn was bread and butter.
Yeah.
So the moment my PR article was out, I posted it on LinkedIn, and immediately I had people contacting me. I did nothing. There wasn't a single pitch I made.
Okay. Awesome.
And from there, it took off. So it's important to collect testimonials along the way.
Yeah.
Uh, that's how you win more clients.
Absolutely.
So from my very first clients, I started slowly. It's been a word of mouth business, really. So
Yeah.
it never was a one-off workshop. If you deliver, if you take time to design those workshops well before you go to your client, and if you deliver, they always call you back.
Absolutely. Okay. And
So from there, it was a full-fledged business. And when I sold off the company, it was at a point where my team couldn't handle the incoming request. We have never done outgoing marketing.
wow. Okay. Wow, that's amazing. So, LinkedIn is one way to reach you, and you still have your columns today in the in all these newspapers coming out as well, right?
Right,
Okay, so
right.
for people who would like to get in touch with you, connect with you, Sindhuja on LinkedIn, I'm going to, of course, tag you when I'm sharing this
Of
interview.
course, thank you so much.
And of course, thank you so much for, as we come to the end of this interview, I'd like to thank you for making the time. And it's been a really interesting conversation. I look forward to having you back on because I still feel like, there's so much that I need to pick your brain on, and there's so much value for the audience, that especially with the people that I work with, the audience that I work. So I look forward to staying connected, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to come back, and I really hope that your audience have enjoyed this.
Yeah, sure.